You can remove the pirate from the sea, but you can't remove the sea from the pirate.
In the 5 years after Netflix unveiled its streaming services, online piracy fell by 2/3. Platforms like Spotify and Netflix are doing something right, removing the friction audiences felt from the bundling effect of CDs and cable subscriptions, and offering content in the more scalable, customer-first format of monthly subscription. The result was a drastic decline in illegal activity and more revenue for individual artists, actors, and production studios. Is the trend real? We hit the streets of our HubSpot headquarters to see if anyone around the office had pirated content before, and if so, whether it was streaming services that made them change their ways.
I was always using LimeWire, FrostWire.
So I could listen to as much music as I wanted.
Definitely love a good free movie.
I have pirated the occasional song or movie.
It was certainly when I was younger, post Napster, but pre-Spotify.
It's something I've done in the past. I find that I'm doing it less and less.
So of course getting something for free is always nice, but just not super legal. So kind of stopped going down that road, especially with streaming coming into play.
They've definitely made a lot of efforts to solve for the customer.
I feel like the subscription services surely smooth out most of the friction.
Now with Netflix and Hulu, I can watch all my shows whenever I want, any movie whenever I want for the most part, and it just have everything at my fingertips.
With Netflix and Spotify, just had a smooth experience. Pretty much reduces all friction that I've experienced in the past.
It's nice to have access to a lot of these works, but it's also nice to be able to have something physical. I think there is a finite lifespan to streaming.
There's a lot of companies that are branching off and starting their own streaming services. As a consumer, it does cause a lot of friction. Just as someone who wants to have all my content in one place, it's now being sort of dispersed into all these other different viewing channels.
That's one of the interesting things is stuff, cycles through different streaming services, so there's some stuff that's not available.
I felt like it was rudely ripped away from me by Netflix almost, and kind of made me a little mad at them since they took away one of my favorite shows.
It's kind of like a return to the model that we saw with cable, where it was really inconvenient.
There was sort of a peak moment where you could get everything, and now it's splintering further, which is kind of to the detriment of the industry as a whole.
If that's the easiest way to do it, I could see myself going back to pirating some content.
We tried to do it the legal way. They just made it so darn hard.
But according to a report from Vice, piracy is on the rise again for the first time in nearly a decade. The problem, they claim, is that many of Netflix's top-performing shows aren't actually owned by Netflix, meaning they could be pulled from the platform at any point in time. As companies like Disney, which owns Fox, prepare to pull content and launch their own streaming services without regard for customer experience. This has raised concerns among customers that there will be a return to the fragmented, high-friction environment of bundled services that used to exist in the cable industry, the very system that Netflix was founded on disrupting.